It's not a publicity stunt this time. This is the bit that has the streets wondering insiders are blaming Cameron himself for the footage that has surfaced of Chrissy Lee's secret and intimate relationship with Jim Jones. Was Cameron just going too far? What would have ruined his relationship with Jones, which lasted for decades? We're discussing backroom negotiations, missed opportunities, and a brotherhood that might have been a lie all along. It's no longer simply about the video. Have you ever witnessed two monarchs suddenly become adversaries? Or was it a premeditated betrayal meant to make Jim look as bad as possible? Instead of keeping quiet, Jim is bursting on all platforms, letting off decades worth of pent-up anger. This is the beginning of the end, so don't blink, scroll, or click away. You would think that what you're about to learn would change your opinion of Cameron forever. After all these years of street brotherhood and shared experiences, you won't be able to ignore the reality once you hear it. It's not only shocking, it's ugly. If Cameron were to become hip-hop royalty, he would have to abide by some unspoken norms. But it appears that loyalty dies in silence. What transpired was not only treachery, it was radioactive. Let's back up. Everything started with a leak, but this one was very explicit and hurtful. A private film featuring Ryde's longtime companion Chrissy Lampkin surfaced. After a few hours, Chrissy's face became recognizable, and the internet did what it does. Best went into detective mode. At first, some thought it was a deep fake. Then, they thought it was an ancient video. One of Jim Jones's most revered matriarchs, or Die, suddenly surfaced on a dubious burner Twitter account with no followers. No tags and no captions. TikTok comments went viral, and before anybody could confirm or deny the clip's legitimacy, Twitter was declaring, "Cam did it." But why would Cameron post a video of that nature? How could he benefit from sharing something so personal? Was it spite or retribution? Or was there something darker simmering behind their alleged friendship? This wasn't the first time Cam and Jim had a falling out. Let's take a moment to talk about history. You see, Dipset wasn't quite as flawless as it seemed. Behind the vibrant bandanas and eye-catching music videos, there was a quiet rivalry about who truly led the crew, the charismatic mastermind or the heart and street muscle. There were ongoing conflicts, power struggles, and backdoor business strategies. As their kingdom expanded, more fissures emerged, subtle barbs in interviews, cryptic Instagram stories, and passive-aggressive rhymes interspersed with explosive moments. Like the well-known 2017 Hot 97 interview, where Cam disclosed everything from internal rivalries to financial betrayals. Fans were confused as Jim cried, but Cam remained composed. In the early 2000s, Chrissy was a fixture on the scene not only as Jim's companion, but also as a savvy businesswoman making real moves. Do you recall that? We return to that trauma in 2025, but this time, it involves Chrissy, family, and not music. The past between Chrissy and Cameron is what exacerbates the situation. In hindsight, that might have been the beginning of the silent, simmering animosity that developed over decades. And Cam might have just let it happen with a single leak. At the time, it seemed like innocuous barbershop banter. Rumor had it that Cam disapproved because he believed Chrissy was dictating Jim's business choices. According to some, Cam even attempted to convince Jim to let her go, so she could focus on her music and become less domesticated. The video was taken more than a decade ago, according to people with knowledge of the situation who spoke anonymously, for safety. Somehow, it was a private moment that was never meant to be seen. However, one insider says the footage was stored on a now-defunct Dipset device, which makes the situation even more suspect. Days before the leak, Cam and Jim were spotted together at a Rock Nation brunch, posing for pictures, joking like old friends, and even making references to a possible Dipset reunion tour. That may have been accidental or the result of intentional retaliation. Additionally, Cam is accused of stealing a hard drive that was only ever accessible by a small group of people. Less than 24 hours after the video went viral, fans flooded Jim Jones's Instagram story with comments like, "It's Cam, he did it. Dipset is dead forever. Jim is going solo." Was the leak actually from Cam's camp? Jim Jones added a black screen to his account with just 3 words, "I see you." Was it planned? Was he pretending to be friendly while planning to drop a bomb? Jim was not silent for long. "Family is not touched by you. My wife is not someone you toy with." That video wasn't accidentally delivered, it was with malicious intent. Emojis were flying out of the comment area and many were crying. In just a few minutes, Jim's uncensored, unpolished live feed drew over 120,000 views. There was only anger and sadness. No PR staff, no script. What you people say doesn't matter to me. From the beginning, this man has been envious of me, Jim said. He went on, bringing up old business, but even devoted Dipset fans were picking sides. This is the same dude who told labels I was unreliable and refused to give me tour money in 2011. You want to blame Chrissy after I held this group down? You are a complete clown. It was now a public declaration of war rather than merely a personal betrayal. Opinion pieces, podcast segments, and Twitter conversations about whether Jim was exaggerating or Cam had gone too far were everywhere. Even worse, Cam said nothing, which the public interpreted as an admission. Chrissy Lampkin, meanwhile, has a reputation for going 10 minutes without saying anything. Toes down in all storms, she made a unique move by archiving all images that included Cam, unfollowing him on all platforms, and posting an enigmatic message on her account. We all felt that betrayal at a soul level. But some wounds were too deep. There were no names or faces. To make things worse, an anonymous source disclosed even more horrible details. Purported text messages between Cam and an industry insider. The worst aspect? Cam hasn't denied them, so it's unclear if he actually sent them. Why doesn't he defend himself while his name is being dragged through digital purgatory? Why not speak up? Or maybe Cam was aware this would all blow up right before a major business deal. A secret industry acquaintance mentioned a scheme to leak something spicy to damage Jim's reputation. Eventually, Cam would be ready to set everything on fire. But just when we believed the mayhem had peaked, something even more surprising happened. Things took a wild turn. And just when Jim Jones thought he had exposed every secret Cam might be hiding, further betrayals surfaced, like a web of lies. Oh, sure, the SMS messages were sincere. But the real kicker is the leak involved more than just the video. These alleged texts between Cam and an unnamed industry insider, according to those acquainted with the situation, paint a far harsher picture. In them, Cam talks of planning an entire smear campaign to damage Jim's reputation, not just destroying it with a single leak. The right amount of dirt can break him down. Let's hit him where it hurts. His woman, his money, his fans. That's right, his woman, his money, his fans. All the things Jim Jones holds dear were now tools in Cam's sick game of revenge. The purported message from Industry One also claimed this friend advised Cam to keep it low-key, but Jim's Instagram Live didn't just change the rules. It changed the strategy. Starting to question whether all those years of devotion were simply a botched business arrangement, the public's opinion of the team was about to suffer significant damage. There were facts, half-truths, and assumptions on the internet. The topic of discussion shifted from the video to Dipset's whole legacy. For now, let's stand back a bit. It would be the most premeditated act in hip-hop history if Cam did leak the tape as part of a bigger scheme to ruin Jim. Imagine eliminating a brother who had committed the greatest personal betrayals. It would be detrimental to both his job and personal life. Was Cam responsible for this? Was he trying to force Jim out of Dipset, an intentional attempt to take back control of the group but destroying his private life in the process, without saying a word? When fans looked into Cam's past and found some troubling patterns, the fact that he didn't face the situation straight away only served to stoke the flames. Fans discovered multiple old photos of Cam with other rappers and ex-friends, people who had been thrown out after they were no longer needed. In a Twitter thread that shocked the internet, it became apparent that Cam wasn't just recognized for talent, but for manipulation. There was a catch. They wanted to control the story, profit from the dispute, make it public, and turn it into a program. They even attempted to set up the supposed reconciliation between them. The puppet master's ultimate goal was to intensify the antagonism to the point that the two ex-rappers could never get back together. But it was more than just business, it was personal. It was the ultimate betrayal. So is Cam really in control of everything, or is there a darker force at work? Regardless of the truth, we have only just started to explore the implications of this dispute, which will affect not just their friendship, but also their music, their fans' legacies, and their lives. This is now about more than just Jim and Cam. It's about the devotion, betrayal, and ambition that define the hip-hop world. The industry as a whole shudders at what happens when two legends split ways in the most terrible way imaginable. The destruction in this story is not just personal, but also public. And by public, we mean explosive. As the world watched the feud intensify, something even more terrible surfaced. The financial consequences of this betrayal were beginning to sting more severely than any lyric or diss track could. Those close to Jim and Cam, who had taken part in a number of profitable business ventures, started to divulge that the dispute was hurting people in their closest networks, including managers, publicists, former label executives, and others. It was terrible, truly terrible. For instance, it is said that Jim Jones had multiple endorsement deals placed on indefinite hold. Both men suffered significant financial losses. A fair partnership with a well-known luxury brand was put on pause because the company didn't want to be linked to the ongoing drama surrounding Jim's personal life, nor afford the scandal that was damaging his reputation. In Cam'ron's case, it seems that his attempts to resurrect his solo career hit a roadblock. Business partners were fleeing him in large numbers, unsure if backing the rapper was the right thing to do. Even stranger than the possible PR catastrophe were rumors about unmet contracts, questionable financial practices, and even a claim that Cam was being sued by a former label boss for allegedly mismanaging money. Cam and Jim had to make some tough choices quickly, or else they would both fall. Demonstrating that the drama was about more than just music, the true business consequences came like a legal storm. There was a rush of charges, rebuttals, and settlements. Jim Jones claimed to have sued Cam'ron for slander, the first defensive. Action taken. The allegations included emotional distress, conspiracy, slander, and defamation, resulting from the leaked footage. Insiders claimed that Jim's legal team wasn't holding back and was ready to fight it to the end. Even more shocking was the rumor that Jim was asking Cam to publicly apologize and pay millions in damages. The audacity of the assertion surprised even the most seasoned attorneys. In contrast, Cam wasn't planning to stay quiet. He responded by claiming that Jim had been extorting him for years. He said that after using their friendship to steal money and sway business transactions, Jim was now looking for a sizable payout for himself. In the midst of all this turmoil, legal experts predicted that the case could drag on for years. Meanwhile, public perception of both men continued to deteriorate. The fans who had stood by them from the beginning, who knew every word and wore every Dipset chain as if it were their own, were the ones most impacted by this catastrophe. At first, fans couldn't decide who to believe. Some sided with Jim, saying Cam had gone too far. Others argued that Cam had every reason to feel duped after years of seeing Jim play a supporting role. Even while the underdog narrative was in full force, it was hard to ignore the growing divide between Dipset's supporters until the bombshells hit. As fans discovered more about the plot, their enthusiasm waned. Jim's emotional collapse following the release of the leaked footage went viral. A particularly disturbing video showed him questioning his entire career. "Is this how they really feel about me, after everything we've been through?" he muttered, glancing at his phone. However, Cam showed no interest and remained silent. Once more. He tweeted, "The truth must be told even when it hurts." Just a calculating, cold comment, no apology, no explanation. That was all he said publicly. The longer he remained silent, the more people saw him as a cunning, self-serving businessman who would stop at nothing to maintain power. Some fans abandoned the band, while others defended their favorite rapper on social media. After the Dipset fanbase split, the industry took action. They knew the impact this drama would have. The more the pair argued, the less influence they had. The deterioration of their unity was both men's fault. The question now, can they ever mend the damage? Or has their axe permanently shattered? The legacy they built together? Now let's talk about Chrissy, Jim's longtime partner, and a primary figure in this entire argument. As the narrative unfolded, her name kept coming up, dragged through the mud. It was evident she had been criticized by the public and was deeply connected to the catastrophe. Rumor had it that Chrissy had known about the betrayal before anyone else. At the time, no one realized she was more than just a bystander. Some even claimed she saw the tape before it was released and had pressured Jim to act against Cam. Whether or not Chrissy was directly involved, her connection only added more intrigue to the tragedy. Was she just a pawn in the game? Or did she have personal reasons to remain silent as things unraveled? The most heartbreaking part? This wasn't just about two men, it was about their families, their reputations, and everything they had built over the years. The longer it dragged on, the more people once loyal chose to walk away to avoid getting dragged into an uncontrollably heated war. Now, the question that must be answered is this: can Jim and Cam ever get back together? Does this disagreement mark the true end of the Dipset era and their legendary legacy? Or is there still a chance for reconciliation? Their reputations and their place in hip-hop history hang in the balance. Despite all of this, the real question remains: is there any possibility of a settlement? As the music industry waits, lawsuits continue to pile up and public sentiment shifts. One thing is certain: the story isn't over. The final chapters have not yet been written. Here's the real query, and I want to know what you think. Who is at fault? Was it Cam's cold treachery? Or Jim's greed and manipulation that ignited this war? This is a story of betrayal, broken bonds, and brotherhood. And it's far from finished.